Colleen here, DIYer behind LemonThistle.com, and today I'm excited to be back with another Cricut versus Silhouette challenge. Today we're talking about the draw tool or the writing tool, the capability that Cricut and Silhouette have to use a marker in the machine. I am Team Cricut. I'm going to be talking about how I use this with my maker, the different things that it can do, and my friend Alexis from Persia Lou is Team Silhouette. She'll be sharing her video as well today. I will link to that if you are interested in seeing what the Silhouette can do comparably. In the Cricut, this is in a separate clamp than the blade. So it has two spots, and you would use your blade, whatever that might be, in the one, and you would use your drawing or scoring or whatever tool in the second one. Before we get into it, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would so love if you did that below so you don't miss out on any more DIY or home decor videos. All right, first off, I wanted to show you what I use the draw tool for. So I have done this a couple times. When I want a beautiful, fancy envelope, I will use a piece of scrapbook paper that has a really pretty print on one side and a neutral on the outside, and I will cut out an envelope with my Cricut, and you can pop the pen tool in there at the same time and it will also write on it for you. This is great because you get an envelope liner in one because you have that pretty pattern on the inside, so you can ditch the envelope liner in any of the envelope patterns that you pull up on Cricut. You also get an envelope that is exactly the size that you need, and you can skip writing on the outside of the envelope. Now, I do really like my writing, so sometimes I won't even use the pen tool though, but it is a really cool option. So you take your cut design, and in this case it also has score lines, which makes it easy to fold, which is amazing. And then you can go and you can add your text. So here I like to write out all of my text and then play with the different fonts. So you can filter by the writing fonts, and these ones have a draw setting so that when they get selected, they immediately go to the draw line type. The one thing that I find frustrating about the Cricut Design Space program is the fonts. I love fonts. I have a huge collection of fonts on my computer, and it's awesome that the Cricut can use them. However, you can't just turn them into draw fonts because they're not made for Cricut Design Space. And when you select the Cricut Design Space fonts, it spaces them out like crazy. I don't understand, because you can even make the spacing narrower, as I'm doing here, which in theory should connect the tails and the lead-ins on your letters, but they don't line up. So I tend to, if I'm doing a cut file and I want to have fonts, I will do it in Photoshop and save that as a PNG image and then import it into Cricut Design Space as an image. And I have a video where I talk about that. However, if you do want to use the draw tool for your fonts, you need to use your fonts from Cricut Design Space. So you are stuck playing around with these. You can ungroup to lines, and then for each line figure out your individual spacing. You can also ungroup to letters. So if you are only going to be doing like one line of text, it makes sense to ungroup to letters and to shift them around so you can get them lined up perfectly. However, if you're doing all this text, and especially if you're doing more than one envelope, this is a pain in the butt. So I ended up switching fonts to one that just fits a little bit better. But I would go with a sans serif if you're doing a ton of envelopes because of this issue. To me, that's Cricut's like only downfall. That's the only thing that really bugs me about their software, is how it handles fonts. All right, so if you are going to separate to lines like I have done, then you're going to want to make sure to select all those lines of text again after you line them up exactly how you want them, and you're going to want to hit the attach button at the bottom of your layers panel. This is going to hold them all together so they don't shift around during the cut and draw phase, or even as you move around your design and clean it up, and it will keep those together so they move as a chunk as opposed to as individual lines. So after I added all the text, I went and added this cute little stamp on here. So I just wanted to show you how you can take an image that is meant for cut and what it looks like when it is transferred to draw. So when you transfer it to draw, it outlines the cut with the pen tool. So anywhere that blade would have gone, now the pen will go, which looks really cute on this stamp design, but it's not cute for every image, and I'll show you what I mean later on. But in the case of this stamp, this is adorable, and I would definitely put this on the envelope and put my stamp in there to make it a little bit fancy. So once I have everything that I want written on the envelope, I would select all the font and pictures I want drawn on the envelope and the envelope itself and hit that attach key. That is going to hold it all together so that when you go to make it, it puts your writing on that envelope. So since this particular project is using 3 different tools, it is using the draw tool, the cut tool, and the score tool. So it'll tell you when you hit make it what 2 tools you should put in there first. And in this case, it was the score tool and the draw tool. And then it will tell me when it is ready for me to switch out to the fine point blade. I did really quickly want to address how I like to get cardstock off of my mat, because that is a question that I get every time that I make a cardstock project. So yes, it's super frustrating. However, if you turn your mat upside down and you peel back your mat, like almost roll that back and fold it back while keeping the cardstock flat on your table, the cardstock will pop flat as opposed to getting that curled look that it will get if you peel your cardstock off of the mat. And you can see how beautifully this folds into an envelope thanks to those score lines. All right, next up I wanted to show you how to add this writing onto an envelope that you already have. So for example, you were sending cards and you have all the matching envelopes, but you don't want to address them all yourself. You could make the template like this, and you could just swap out names and addresses and then hit make it. When you're doing this, you will have to detach the designs from each other to change any of the texts, and then you can attach it together again and resize the whole design to fit your envelope. When you hit make it, you can move your design around on your mat to fit exactly where you want it to go on your envelope. I just said that I was writing it on cardstock because the draw tool will kind of work regardless, even if the material is not set exactly right, unlike the cutting tools on the Cricut. Okay, so I wanted to show you how the draw line type affects the design on a cut image, so an image that is meant to be cut. You can totally use cut images with the draw tool, and I have done this before on my Be Kind banner, and I used the draw tool in that case to draw on the wood. The design I was using transferred really well to the draw tool, but for the sake of example, I just want to show you what it does to this unicorn here. So this one here you can see has thicker lines. You can see that the draw tool is outlining where it would have cut, so on both sides of your line. It does make kind of a cool outline, but it doesn't even turn it into a coloring sheet, really. So here's another example. This unicorn is a little bit different. I thought, okay, if I can like erase most of the lines, maybe I'll get a cute outline and it will look like a coloring sheet and I can draw that on there, but that didn't work out too great either. It is pretty tricky, I think, from my experience and the limited amount of times that I've tried to make something rad with the draw tool. It's tricky to change a cut file into a draw file, but I just wanted to play with it just to kind of show you what the limitations are with that draw line type. It would be really handy, if anybody from Cricut sees this, to have a filter for designs that are meant for the draw tool. So I checked the filters, I checked the categories, and I eventually searched draw, which worked, but then you can't search draw plus, say, like fairies or spaceships. So for the sake of example, I wanted to show you how you can separate one image to draw with different colors. So this design is meant for the draw tool, which is great. So the tool that you're going to want to get familiar with if you want to be changing colors and have more than one color in your design is that contour tool, which is located at the bottom of your layers panel. So you can size this however you want it, and then you're going to want to click on it and click contour. So you could go and click all of the lines that you want to delete from this color, or I do find it way easier to just say hide all contours and start from scratch and only select the ones that I want in that first color. So you can go through and you can click individually on all the lines to turn them on and off on that layer, And so I made the outline a navy blue and the outline of the letter a navy blue. And so you can click on them in the preview panel, or you can click on them in the contour layers where they're all separated out individually on the side. So do that for your first color, hit that X and get out of there, and then you will see what you have made in whatever color you've chosen. So change it. I changed it to navy blue. And when you're happy with that, copy and paste your design and line it up right over top. Now, you can hit that contour button again. This is on your new layer, so you want to hide all those contours and you want to start clicking your next color. So I'm sure that you can guess. Copy and paste, line it up, hit that contour tool, hide all contours, and then start clicking the lines that you want to show up again. Exit out, so on until you have all the colors in your design that you would like. Okay, once you are happy with your design, then you want to select the entire thing all together here and hit attach. So for example, I want to hit make it without hitting attach, just so you can see it bumps all the colors to separate spaces so that they don't overlap. Which, if you're using the cut tool, is super helpful, but if you want to draw just one design, it's important to hit that attach button. So then you can move it around so that it lands on your mat exactly where you want it to. So for me, I centered it on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and then you can hit make it. You'll see that the Cricut has 2 slots where you think, oh, I could put a pen in both. No, you can only put a pen in clamp A. Clamp B is always for your blade. So you will insert the first pen that it tells you to, and then when it finishes that, it will tell you to insert the next one, and so on. You never unload your machine, you never hit stop, you just follow the prompts. So this would also work if you wanted to do an infusible ink design and you wanted to use the colors of your choice as opposed to using infusible ink material. So for infusible ink, and I'm not going to do a whole video about it because that is like a whole nother ball game, but you would need to have an infusible ink blank, and then you can use the infusible ink pens, and you could use them with the draw tool here to draw your design on laser printer paper, and then use the easy press to transfer it onto your infusible ink blanks. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to show you super quick, and I didn't do a example of this because I'm not sewing anytime soon. I sew very rarely, but when I have enjoyed using the washable fabric marker that you can get to go with your Cricut, and this is used in almost all of the Cricut Maker patterns. So the marker then marks all of your pattern lines and notations right on the fabric, and it will wash right off. You could also type some text on it and then make it draw right on there. You don't have the option in the drop down of the different colors or marker types to choose this washable fabric pen, but it fits in there. You could just choose black. Like, it doesn't matter which pen you put in. It's really just to help you visualize what it's going to look like when you select which marker you're using. Honestly, this isn't a tool that I use all that often, but it can do some really cool things. So I have made an effort to learn about it for this video to teach you guys what I know and what I would use it for. So I have used it for Valentine's Day cards that I made actually earlier this week, and I really love it for that application. If I can eliminate a print then cut from my life, I will do it, because my printer is so finicky. So I do like the draw tool to eliminate the extra machine and having to use the printer. Beyond that, I don't use it a bunch. When I've done sewing patterns in the past, I do use the draw tool with this washable fabric pen. The other thing that Cricut has come out with now is this infusible ink pen. So if you wanted, you could use this with your machine exactly as we did here. You have to do it on laser copy papers, and then you can draw freehand, but if you wanted to put it in your machine, you could transfer a design that way onto an infusible ink blank. But again, I would probably be inclined to use the infusible ink materials instead of the markers in the machine. I would use the markers if I was going to do freehand. The one project that I definitely would do again is if I had a ton of envelopes to address. I would do this. I mean, I'm happy with my lettering, so I don't know that I would do this just to make one envelope look really pretty, because I would just take my time and hand letter it. But if you don't love your writing, or if you were doing envelopes for your entire freaking wedding and you wanted to save your hand cramping, then this is a really cool way to do that. A couple other things that I want to mention. Using other pens with the Cricut Draw tool. I tried a couple and I could not find any skinny enough to put in here. However, Jennifer Maker has a video, a very long and detailed video about the Cricut Draw tool, where she tests different pens that do fit in here and how they write. So if you're interested in using your own pens, then you can go watch hers. I am happy with the options that Cricut has. I mean, considering that I don't use the Draw tool a ton, I just feel like this does what I need. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more DIY or home decor videos. And if you have any topics or questions or things that you'd like to see us address in this series, drop your requests in the comments below and hopefully we can get to them all. See you guys next time.